So, what you think of that? It is, what, 6:10 a.m. and overnight, you just seen what was on the crawl this morning that I just showed you. Isn't it interesting how just last night I was talking about this, about the IVF? Hmm? You need to read into the things that I bring to the table. I'm telling you what. And that's going to be enough. Nice little follow up to what I brought to the table just last night and this morning. A little bit more, what, reaffirmation, confirmation? I'll let you decide. Welcome back. It's Wednesday, February 19th, 2025, 8:30 a.m. We have been given an adequate segue or lead in to what I have been told to bring to the table. We are going to continue on where we left off. IVF, in vitro fertilization. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of research. We are going to provide a little bit of a storyline here of possibilities, strung along with some so-called facts in the matter, theories, and of course, opinions from yours truly. So we are going to begin with this medical encyclopedia or dictionary, and we'll go from there. So let's begin with the definition of the word in vitro, okay? And as you will see, if this picks it up, in vitro, as in a test tube. An in vitro test is one done in the laboratory, usually involving isolated tissue, organ, or cell preparations. Okay? That is in vitro. Now we have pregnancy. Okay? And of course, your typical pregnancy, well, we already know about the birds and the bees, right? Okay, now this book here has quite a lot of information into the realm of pregnancy. And we are not going to really go into that. But I just want to show you that, okay. So it begins here with pregnancy, okay. And there you have the basic definition. We also have the chart. And more. And more. Until we come to the end. Alright. So now we have this president, Donald J. Trump, that is, well, as you've seen, he has been a very high advocate of in vitro fertilization. He has been married 3 times. We have Elon Musk, supposedly now has fathered 13 children. Alright, I'm just bringing that to the table, because this gets very interesting if you ask me. First and foremost, and I'm using these terms loosely, But as I have shown and described, there's a war that's been kicking off. And you might think that it is a war between good and evil or good and bad, what have you. Um, the way that I see this, it really boils down to two groups. One, the so-called Illuminati, and that of the Templar Knights, Knights Templar, whatever, and that of the Freemason Society. We're going to be going that much more into it because I am just being told I have to bring this stuff about. Other people are doing likewise. I'm doing it in my own fashion as I am being directed to do so. So, let's go ahead and just look at medicine for a minute. And I want to show you this dictionary, okay, which ironically has a feather right here. I want you to notice the symbol. We have the globe split in half with a single snake. The single snake is actually a symbol to the AMA, American Medical Association. Okay? They are in allegiance to one half of the global power structure. The other half, well, kind of hidden, right? So let's continue on. This book has a lot of copyright dates to it, all right? And it's copyright 2001. Let that sink in for a second. Now then, let's see what we have here. We have the distributors. Those in the USA, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Mexico, Central America, Brazil, Canada, Panama, South America, as well as India, whoa, Southeast Asia, come on, refocus, and the Middle East. Okay? This is like one of your go-to guidebooks of medicine. But once again, this is from one group. Okay? We have yet another go-to handbook. A lot of people think that this is religious doctrine, but yet a lot of people are understanding that there's much more to this book through, once again, the King James Version. Okay? And of course, this being a construction through the society that King James and his father were associated with during their time period. Now, going back through the ages and going back to pregnancy, what typically had to be done first before pregnancy, especially according to this marriage. Now then, let's stick with that, because throughout the ages we hear of what is known as arranged marriages, especially of those families within the hierarchies of royalty and those considered elitists. And this is globally. You see this in almost every country in their histories, these arranged marriages for whatever purposes and reasons. One of those reasons is for purification or keeping something pure, such as bloodlines and the genealogy, which involves DNA. Okay? We see this, well, right here within the early stories of lineage. We are explained through medicine all about a lot of that. Okay, and I'm just going to leave it there. So now, let's go to this. Because as we are aware of those arranged marriages, for a lot of times the purposes of future generations and keeping bloodlines continuing on and so on and so forth. Well, there's other things that can take place that, well, had possibly been in the stories here that involve pregnancy. Okay, and we're going to steer clear of, unwanted pregnancies through physical violence, if you will. All right? Or, well, we'll just keep it at that because even that kind of is applied loosely. So why am I showing this? Because this is serious business right here. And we're going to be going more so into the topic of these in due time. But we will be going into the past within this country, within that story that I've been postponing, yet promising to bring once again to the table. This is going to get kind of intense, people. I have to bring this up. I just had to run to my files as this popped in my head that I have to include this. Okay, and this is a Xerox copy from quite some time back. I'm not even sure what year this came out, but as you can see here, yes, this is about those mutilation uh, occurrences that have taken place throughout history. That being of these cows mysteriously being found dead out in the pasture with organs removed as well as other body parts, blood being drained, and what looks like surgery that was done with laser precision. Okay? And there's the theory that it, involves these here. Far off in the past, in the 1940s, we had a president that supposedly had a meeting with aliens. And there were agreements and arrangements made. And a lot of that had to do with the military technology at that time. And supposedly a warning came through about nuclear warfare and all that. I'm just putting in these little pieces, tidbits of information, but we're going to get there. So hang tight. So throughout history, we also have these encounters with so-called aliens and UFOs that has involved pregnancy. In which there is an episode of The X-Files. Yeah, I'm bringing up Hollywood once again. You know, part of the Illuminati. And, you know, I'm thankful that I have been a lifelong big screen fan, and as well as the little screen, such as TV series, and movies, and the programming, and the Easter eggs found within certain series, TV series, and movies. Okay? A lot of symbolism and symbologies that we should be well aware of because, once again, everything is connected. So we have these stories of abductions by so-called UFOs, aliens, and some of these female abductees have claimed pregnancy. They have also claimed the removal of fetuses, if not even babies. And once again, we go back to a certain episode in X-Files to where Agent Dana Scully has a flashback to where she was abducted and a type of in vitro fertilization was taking place. But with, you know, with what is explained here, test tubes and which you are, you know, removing the eggs from a female and artificially fertilizing them and then replacing them back into a female for that gestation period. Artificial conception. This is also explained through, of course, these abductions. But it takes place not as explained through our medical science, but through an injection type process around the navel. And somehow this conception process takes place, and possibly even that of a sped up gestation period of growth to the fetus. This is kind of science that, well, this has been going on as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of theorization that, you know, these abductions have actually been through military and corporate forces throughout the years. And that all of this is just a dupe to our senses. All this talk about aliens and whatnot. Well, I'm going to relate a little story from my past. This involves a female that I knew for about 10 years. She's the only female that has been in my life that I could actually, at that time, to have considered being like a best friend. I mean, even though she had her boyfriend, whatever, we spent a lot of time together as friends. Well, once again, I'm a fan of movies and TV series. Always have been. One day she was over. We decided to watch a movie. I put in this movie here, The Fourth Kind. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie or not. But the fourth kind, as it says here, is abduction. Okay? We got so far into watching this movie, and there was, well, a scene to where you could hear what was claimed as like the aliens speaking. And the scenes that was being shown, yeah, a little slightly disturbing. Me. I mean, I'm kind of like desensitized to the horror and the macabre and terror and stuff like that. Long life of watching this kind of stuff. But all of a sudden, she broke down, started bawling, pleading with me. Shut it off, Morgan. Shut it off. I cannot do this. I can't do this. I was like, what? What? Why are you freaking out? I mean, literally, tears. I can't do this, Morgan. I can't watch this. I've been there. This has happened to me. And then she went on to describe what she claims to remember, which her description was quite a lot like what you see in that X Files episode that I have described. I'll never forget that day. I'll never forget what this movie brought out. Okay, so did she have a alien encounter abduction scenario? Maybe. And part of a military or corporate experiment. Because, when it comes down to, these secret laboratory experiments, now then, I won't go into any explanation or description of this movie. Remember the story? Chapter 2. Well, how about we jump ahead and maybe a story about birth. And what can we understand from history? The future. And rebirth, known as resetting, possibly. Understand the age in which we live today, people. Artificial intelligence. We have a prophecy of a sort of a rebirth, or otherwise a return. Stated that it's supposed to come from the clouds. This return. But what can we understand from these stories of history that can be applied to a possible future? An artificially created Messiah, whether organic or synthetic, or possibly a combination of the both. There's been speculations that this birth here might have been more scientific in nature rather than within nature itself. And we are possibly seeing evidence today of the same type of in vitro fertilization and the outcomes thereof within certain children. Are we coming closer to understanding where monsters come from? Aliens? Shall I also explain that this also ties in with my time loop theory? A lot of people want to talk about the Matrix and simulation and all that. I'm a little bit more down to earth, even though a lot of times, as you see in my content, my head is up there in the clouds, right? Well, isn't that where it all begins? So without me going into, that heavy narration of timelines, storylines, events, and all that, I'm giving you just little pieces of the puzzle here. You put them together. All right? Remember, there has been a very long war over the domination of this realm. We have nothing but a history of warfare, but we also have what is known as a cryptid history. But is it actually just history? Or is it just a recycling? Because through archaeology, we are finding a lot of, this so-called advanced civilizations and advanced technologies for their so-called time periods within history. No, there is a linear timeline, but these linear timelines are caught within a circle, a loop. This is why people are starting to think that, oh, it's all a matrix, it's all a simulation. Well, if that is your theory that you are accepting, then your God is that of artificial intelligence. And maybe that is why everything has been designed. Designer babies. But then again, is that because through mankind's technology of the future and the past that we were taken away from the real creator? A separation. Now, from there, we go back to that time loop theory, in which you'd have to go over to my other channel, Dragon Fire Investigative Research, to see that theory, or you can go to my playlist through this channel and its homepage. We're going to continue on. We are talking of past, present, and future. And believe it or not, what you're seeing here also plays a large part into what I am going to bring to the table through that long-awaited Lewis and Clark expedition, and how I have read into the story through their writings which is much like how I read into this book and its writings. Now, where I get my information from, I have no idea, but I see through the veils of those that has been within this eternal power struggle of control for the slavery and servitude of what is known and has been known as the common man, the drones, the workforce. But compliancy has become a factor. They need to bring back and restore order, right? All part of this grand reset. And we have a grand master that is in control now. Now, I don't know if I am, I'm not even going to speculate on my future or, what I am bringing to the table. But I feel this is information that is pertinent and needs to be maybe not understood, but at least somewhat put together. And yeah, like I said, I could provide a very detailed account of all of this, stage by stage, step by step, throughout history. But I have to do it my own way, because through this method of madness, there is that possibility of people raising their awareness levels, their knowledge, because maybe their inner selves will start speaking louder because of just connecting the dots themselves through the little stuff that I bring to the table. There's a reason and purpose for everything, people. I don't know everything, and will never claim to do so. I am not smart. I might have a little bit of intellect. I have a little bit of knowledge. I am not wise. But for some reason, I am highly connected to all of this stuff and have been my whole life, and I'm still trying to figure out why. Why am I being downloaded with all this information? Why have I gone through the last couple of years of this so-called spiritual transformation? There's a lot of unanswered supernatural, paranormal, yada 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 questions that I want answered. Still. But will I ever be privy enough to a lot of these answers? I don't know. Maybe this is just not even for you. Maybe it's for future generations to help wake them up. I don't know. I'm just being instructed to bring this type of stuff out, make my little connections, and maybe you can connect that much more. I can't do everything. We got other people out there that, man, they pour through all this kind of content here. And they come out with these awesome videos and stuff. Claiming truth. No, that's just reality bits and pieces of that shown here. Take those bits and pieces. Take what I have shared. If this is of interest to you, apply it accordingly. That's all I ask. I could go on much, much more, just like with a lot of other content, and by all means, we'll get there. This is rough enough. On that note, we will end this. Take care. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. And we'll see you back here once again on this flip side.